It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, sponsored by Fast Break Sports and The Pitch. Here's your host, Scott Puryear.
Welcome in to another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I am Scott Puryear. As always, big thank you to joining in this week on this podcast. Of course, we're sponsored by Fast Break Sports, 3109 South Campbell. Your home for all things sporting goods, sports cards, collectibles, sports memorabilia. They've got it there at Fast Break Sports. And the Pitch Pizza and Pub in the Southern Hills Shopping Center off East Sunshine. Great place to go watch sports, have a great meal, whether it's lunch or dinner. Cold beverages, all at the Pitch Pizza and Pub. We'll talk more about those later on in the program. Special guest this week is the head football coach of the Missouri State Bears. He's entering his third season, coming off an 8-4 campaign, top 25 ranking last year, heading into a big year with new membership in Conference USA and the FBS series. Coach Ryan Beard. Ryan, thanks for joining me.
Scott, how are you, man? Thanks a lot for having me on.
Doing great, you bet. I know you wrapped up spring drills over the weekend. Not the weather forecast you would have picked, I'm sure, with temps in the low 40s, rain, windy. Did you get out of spring and the spring game what you'd hope to get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you go into a game like that with the weather being what it was, it speaks more about your football team, how they come out attitude-wise, than any play that could have happened on the actual football field. We were able to get a ton of work in this spring, being able to evaluate our student athletes and see the places that we need to improve on going into this next portal window. I think we were able to do that. I think in true Missouri State football fashion, since we've got here 5 years ago, I think Saturday was a great test for our football team to see how we respond, because there's always going to be adversity, whether it's weather, whether it's injuries, whether it's anything like that. How you respond is everything that has to do with the outcome. And I think they answered the bell and did a great job.
And the last game on the old turf over there at Plaster Sports Complex. The new one is going down as we speak. Pivot 1.5 artificial surface, new designs. Kind of tell us about that turf and maybe your excitement level for a new surface.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It was very, very much needed. And again, as you come into the new conference and things continue to get bigger and better all around our football program, this was a much needed addition. The turf is great. We flew down to around the Bentonville, Arkansas area, North Arkansas, and I had actually put the cleats on myself and was running on the turf to see how it felt. It tests above every single thing that you could possibly test for in regards to, load management, in regards to how it handles the heat. We're very, very excited about our new turf, and again, it's a step in the right direction for our overall football program. Are
you still a 4.4 or 4.5 in the 40 on that turf or not?
Oh, no, you'd probably need a sundial for me right now, but I used to have some game.
Did you meet the father-in-law for lunch in Rogers maybe and make him buy, or was he unavailable?
I should have, Scott, that's for sure. I didn't have quite the time that I would have liked to get down to see how things are going in Fayetteville, but I'll make sure I do that next time for sure.
Well, new turf going down. Kind of give us an update on your wish list for facilities. What do you really need going forward, and not just the next year or two, but down the road? Kind of update us on your push for those things.
Yeah, for right now, the phase one that's happening right now around campus is obviously, you mentioned the turf. We'll have the new lighting system to make sure we're ESPN compatible, which is huge, to where we can host, nationally televised football games. That will be a first to ever happen with Missouri State football, which is an incredible feat in itself. And then with due time, since me and you have talked the last few years, it's always about a football-only space. Most local high schools have a football-only space to where you can have your meeting rooms, your weight room, your locker room, all housed in one spot. Right now, again, we're still sticking and moving around campus to make sure that we can have those ready for fall camp. But at some point, you have to have that facility if you want to be considered a real FBS football program and even a high-level FCS program. So that's a must-have. But, one thing we do here and that our players have really grasped and held on to is the fact that we focus on what we do have and what we do well here, and that's train hard, get people ready for the NFL, and win football games.
Got a new AD. He's almost a year into his job there with Patrick Ransdell. He shares your vision, I'm sure, for these football facilities and and things of that nature. Kind of your very careful assessment of your boss almost a year in.
Yeah, I think Patrick's great for Missouri State. I think he's been tremendous. I think he's hit the ground running. Again, like you said, he and I share a very common vision for what this place could be, and he's actively trying to get there. The one difficult thing about football, you would say, is how far behind we really are. There's some other sports on campus that have, the nice facilities. They have a meeting rooms of their own. And I think that's one thing that the community and just everyone has to wrap their mind around. If, you still have to play catch up. Yes, that bill may look higher, but if you really want to get to where you go and have the prowess that we can have here in Springfield, Missouri as a football program, those things they have to be done.
Tell Brent Dunn to quit taking those 2-hour lunch breaks and stuff and get after it, right? Working on a short game. I notice you're staying silent on that one right now, right? Because, but that was a very good assessment.
The best thing about me, Scott, I stay in my lane. I control what I can control and do the very best we can.
Well, you got people that are very good at what they do, and that's what they do, and that's probably the best type of management in it, is let them do their jobs, and you reap the benefits down the road someday too. So, back to the spring game and the weather and stuff. You got in what you needed to do. More and more schools, it seems like, kind of a little wave of canceling spring drills or spring game out of fear of opponents, picking up stuff for the next fall and guys seeing guys that aren't playing and maybe tampering with them in the spring portal season. What are your thoughts on that trend here lately and how it affects you guys as a new FBS member?
Yeah, as long as I am your head football coach here at Missouri State, we're going to have a spring game. I think it's great for fan engagement. I think it's, we had a huge day planned for families and young kids to come out and see our players. Obviously, the weather kind of knocked that off. But what people don't realize, Scott, is the poaching is happening anyway. They've got all the film that they want on our players with a system called PFF, and you can basically click on Missouri State starting whatever position you want to call it and watch all of the clips from the previous season. Again, the poaching is running rampant. But the best thing that we can do here at Missouri State is to continue to develop our football players and team, because, it's one thing to sit here and say, there might be a reason that no one wants our players, so we at least have a program that understands how to develop, how to create talent. And guys want our players. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there are advantageous opportunities for these student athletes to possibly go and make a bunch of money. And as a football coach and as a head football coach at Missouri State, my stance will always be we're player-centric. We're in it for the players. If you think your best situation is at Missouri State, we're going to love you up. We're going to make you the best you can possibly be. If there's somewhere else you see that you're a better fit and you can make life-changing money, go do that. We're for you either way. We're for these young men.
And it seemed like a little bit of paranoia, on the spring game cancellations there too. I mean, is that subsiding for the most part? And have most coaches, you think, settled in and here about 3 years into that it is what it is, it's going to happen. The NCAA is going to do nothing about it, the tampering and all that. And you just gotta live with it and go on. Is that kind of the mentality that you and other coaches are starting to develop?
Yeah, that's the circle that I run in. That's the approach that you have to take. You have to get the work in. You have to, do right by your program. You can't ever work out of fear. You have to understand that there's certain things within each period of time throughout the year that you need to accomplish, and you can't let the fear of losing a player or getting tampered with or anything like that, offset the true goal of your program, and that's to get the best spring work period possible and be ready to go into summer workouts.
Do kids tell you if they're being tampered with, some for the most part, or how does that work inside a program? I mean, do they tell an assistant coach, hey, so-and-so's been it's kind of taking you behind the curtain with that and how without just having it sprung upon you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's situation by situation. Sometimes the kids come and tell you. Other times it's Power 4 programs that you're connected to call you and go, hey, man, you need to know about this. There's a creepy NIL agent out there that's trying to represent one of your players, and he's trying to call all these schools and and get a number to present to the player. And that's what's so disgusting to me, Scott, is that these grown men are out there messing around behind the scenes, and they're not even representing these players yet. They're just out there seeing a good player, and they call around to the ACC, SEC, Big 12, and try to find the best price available. And then they call the kid up that has a perfectly good situation that he's in and put all these numbers in his head, and fill him with the facade of, hey, it's better here. You're going to have a better situation, knowing good and well that the situation he's currently in is good for the player. The NFL wants production. A lot of times all the young, some young men and people, all they see is these big flashy numbers. Well, the NFL doesn't care about potential. They want to see your film. They want to see you play. So yeah, you can feel free to go to Power 4 and make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and all of a sudden you end up the backup, and your NFL careers and hopes and dreams are done.
Yeah. I saw where there were about 2,000 basketball players in the portal after about the first week here last month. And have you noticed a trend in football? Is it getting worse in terms of the number going in, or kids kind of starting to realize that the grass isn't always greener and maybe they're a little more hesitant to go in now?
Yeah, I think as time progresses, the stories come out of, hey, I thought I could have gone into the portal, made some money, had a better situation, and it doesn't turn out to be true. Because again, and I'll hit on the FCS right now, which was what we were going to FBS. They see the bright lights, they see the cool things that their players are doing on social media. And again, they don't understand that you still have to be productive. It's a production-based business. So no, the grass is not always greener. And then, on the other side of it, sometimes you see some great stories of some guys that made $1 million in the portal, went and had a great NFL career. So, there's good and bad to everything in life. And again, as long as we're here at Missouri State, we're going to try to focus on the positive, get these kids better every single day, and then let them make the decision that's best for them.
Where are you in terms of roster size, talent level, those things that in your mind going into FBS and CUSA next year? The spring portal, is there work to be done for you there?
Absolutely. We'll need to fill some spots in this portal window that's opening on the 16th, and make sure we're ready to go and make sure we're aligned properly with some certain position groups. But I like the foundation of our football team. I think we have some critical pieces that we were able to retain that put us in line with a lot of the highly competitive Conference USA teams. Sure, there's always work to be done on the offensive and defensive fronts, as well as some skill players here and there. But I do think that we have a good foundation of players here that can help us be competitive.
I had a coach in a different sport tell me that it's kind of disheartening that the first word out of a lot of the kids' mouths during portal season is, what can you pay me? And it's NIL based. And,
sure.
And I know there are some coaches that shy away from that, but it is what it is now. And kind of tell me about your NIL program. Are you getting to where you want to be? Is there obviously room for improvement, especially going into Conference USA and that level of football now?
Yeah, our Football Players Association has been absolute gold. If you want to look at the success around our football program, as you can tell, we're sitting here, the same facility, the same everything around us, but we're playing winning football because they have given us the ability to retain our top talent and to go out and get those pieces that we need. So I cannot say enough good things about those men behind the scenes that are working hard for us, and as well as the community involvement that's getting in and helping us do these types of things, because a great college football team helps the community, whether people want, to see the value in it or not. The numbers are factual. When you have a really high level football team, it helps everyone around the community. It helps business owners. It helps, the hospitality management people in town. And we plan to continue building that and getting that bigger and better. And one thing I'll hit on, Scott, you talked about the initial conversation is always about money. I'm very hesitant to bring those types of players into our program. If the first thing you ask about is how much are you going to pay me? I think Kirby Smart said it the other day in a nationally televised interview. You still need to have football guys that have passion and energy for the game itself. This is a hard game. This is not something you don't just roll the ball out and play. You still have to have a passion and love for this game. And if we don't sense that, you're not our guy.
I've talked, I'm an OU fan, been a lifelong OU fan, there's a case of a 5-star tight end that got a big paycheck and all of a sudden he weighs 280 pounds, and they finally cut him loose. And I mean, you're going to start seeing that more and more with the bigger the paydays go, aren't they? In terms of guys that just, for lack of a better term, get fat and happy and lose their motor in some cases.
Sure. Absolutely. The hunger used to be driven from making it to the NFL, being around the staff, being around a program that can put you in position to get to the NFL, because that was your payday. Now with the numbers being as astronomical as they are in big time college football, some of these guys say, I've made a ton of money in these 4 years. I don't really need the NFL. I've bankrolled a few $1 million. I'm good. The game I thought that I loved, now I can go sell real estate, or now I can go be a financial planner, or different things like that. It has certainly changed the culture in the overall game, but there are still great players out there that love football. There are still football purists. You just got to work hard to make sure that you get those guys into your program. That way you can be successful.
How huge, and you knew it was happening, but how huge was it to get Jacob Clark back for this pivotal year going into the new horizons you're entering, and then retain the offensive line? I mean, what a great building block that must be going into what you're going into.
Yeah, Jacob Clark, it was just the catalyst for the whole thing this offseason. Him coming back and showing his loyalty to this program and his belief in what we're doing here at Missouri State football. I mean, that doesn't happen very often anymore. He was able to see past the numbers. He was able to see past, the NIL agents hitting him up all the time about, here's the number for you. I can get you this. I can get you that. He's sitting here going, I'm in one of the best offenses in America. I've been a starter here, all conference player here. I had some of the best numbers in the country. I have a coaching staff that loves me and takes care of me and that can push me to be my very best self. And there was no better place for him to be than right here at Missouri State. And that basically set the tone for everyone on the roster. They looked at Jacob Clark as a leader. They looked at him as a guy that goes, hey, listen, maybe this whole thing is more than a few dollars here and there. Maybe it is about building a true team and going through the process and understanding that we can put you in a great position to, fulfill your lifelong dream of playing in the NFL. And then along with the offensive line, retention there is huge, and being able to have guys that played together, that have gone through the battles and forged by the flame a little bit there is tremendously important. And we obviously understand we still need to get bigger and stronger there, but that will improve in time.
Who are some of the new weapons that you found for him? And I'm sure there may be some still out there with the spring portal season as well that Bears fans will be excited to see come this fall.
Yeah, the really cool thing about our roster right now offensively, Scott, is, we had a great tight end core that's returning. Gary Clinton, I feel like, is coming off one of his best springs. He's never really been fully healthy for an entire season. He looks great. Returning All-American Lance Mason is tremendously impactful. Feels like he's open all the time. Then at the wide receiver room, we have some great returners. I know we lost Hunter Wood, some production there. But again, James Blackstrain's had a great spring, as well as Dash Luke. We look for them to take a big step forward. And again, it's one of those things. You got Ronell Johnson that came in from Stetson. He's made a bunch of plays. He's a good-looking route runner. He's got great hands, good feel. Got J-Rob back. J-Rob was a guy that went into the portal, and he found out very quickly that his best situation is back here at Missouri State. And so we gave him an opportunity to come back, and he's done a good job for us. And then again, Isaiah McMorris from Nebraska, really quick, speed guy that can do some good things vertically and stretch the defense out, like him. And I think we have some good freshmen coming in, and again, we'll have some portal pieces. But what you're probably asking too in the back of your mind is, he hasn't talked about running back yet, but that's how good I feel about our returning offense. Obviously, replacing Jacardier Wright is tremendously important. Shamari Lawrence from FIU, really good hard running back, great vision, good agility, good moves. And then we got a kid that really right now should be going to his prom, King Davis. He's like a 17-year-old pup. Some of the things he does, it blows your mind, but then you realize, man, he should still be walking the halls of his local high school down in South Florida. They'll be a great 1-2 punch. And a guy that I want to mention that's had a tremendous spring is Ramon Green. Ramon Green and Connor Lair, two local guys that have really stepped up when we needed them to. And they're kind of the veterans of the group. I know that sounds crazy because they're still young players, but they know the playbook. They know how we operate, and it's really been good to see them push the new guys and make them understand what our standard is.
And on the other side of the ball, Caden Weist had a big spring game for you, and is right there in the mix at edge. I saw where the edge is one of those areas that you've had few worries because you got a lot of good guys there. We always like to talk local guys. Cole Forbacher in the mix for backup, I believe, a quarterback, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about some of those guys and kind of what you saw this spring and what it looks like for them going into the fall.
Yeah, with the local guys, Cole did a great job this spring. He's getting a handle on the offense. The one thing about Cole that's deceiving about him, because he looks big and he's got a big arm, but he can really run the football. He's got great athleticism. He's strong. He's powerful. So I look forward to seeing him in the fall camp, trying to get that backup spot. You mentioned Caden Weist. He I think again had one of his best springs yet. Had a little bit of injury bug last year, but looks set to get in some of the depth there and have a good year. Ramon, I already brought Ramon up, did a phenomenal job. JJ O'Neal. JJ O'Neal is a guy that came to us as a quarterback. We talked him into being a great DB, and he's shown that. He's shown, when you look at a great safety, and I'm a little biased because I played the position, you've got to be able to get guys lined up. You've got to be able to communicate. You've got to have some football IQ to you to be able to really be as effective as you need to be, and JJ's taken a huge step there.
You look around at the other Missouri State sports and the Lady Bears basketball, for example, two local girls really kind of sparked the enthusiasm and the interest in the program with Lacey Stokes and Cayman Beckemeyer from Mount Vernon and Republic. And baseball, you've got local guys, Zach Stewart, Curry Sutherland, and others. How important for what you're trying to do in football do you view finding the local talent? And I know you can't just shoehorn them into the Division I FBS level. They got to be able to play at that level. But how important can local talent be to building that following in football?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's really important. And I think you've seen it come to life with the guys we just talked about. The one thing we will never do here at Missouri State is just because you're a local guy, you get a scholarship. We want to make sure we've identified them as a player that can play at this level and that can help our football team win, because there are 130 people in this organization that we have to make sure we're taking care of from all walks of life, from all over the country. But we make it a point of pride in our program that if you can play at the FBS level, we want to make sure that we can show you enough love that you want to be a Missouri State Bear. And that will always be an important point for us as long as we're here.
How do you even begin and prepare for a schedule that basically is almost all new, new conference, a USC in the opener out in LA that transfer portal is going to affect who they have and what they do in terms of talent? Do you just approach those preparations now, if you're looking at film, as schemes and systems and what to prepare for? And let me preface that by saying I would like nothing worse or nothing more than for you to beat Lincoln Riley in LA. There's an OU thing there. So, but what can you do now with the kind of the turnstile effect of all the rosters and film from last season?
Yeah, we believe in our process. I mean, just because you're going up to a different conference doesn't change anything we do in-house. You look at the film the same way. It's just a different jersey, different type of player. You still, again, I think we have great offensive and defensive schemes. I think we are highly competitive on special teams as well. And again, you don't really look so much at the USC on the jersey. You look at them as another opponent. You look at them, what they're doing schematically, and then be able to formulate a plan that puts your players in position to be successful. Whether, again, you're the coach at an NAIA school or, Alabama, you're doing the same things because that's what you believe in. That's what we believe in as a coaching staff. It's been our process. It's been proven to be successful all over the country, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Obviously, USC will be a big task. I mean, you look at their social media accounts and you look at all the stuff and all the players that they've bought, best players money can buy, but that doesn't mean we're not going to go out and compete.
Is it a different feel going into those games now that you're on that same level of them versus when, as a 1AA team, it was a payday and you hope to compete. And now you go in thinking, eventually in these games, we're going to go toe-to-toe. And I know your expectation is right from the start. And I guess the second part of that is, how important are these games financially to your program now to go to USC to open next season, then Texas A&M a year later, in terms of the bottom line and what you are able to do with your budget?
Yeah, they're tremendously impactful. We have to go play these games, and it's great for our players too. You get to go. If you think you're an NFL guy, the first game the NFL scouts are going to turn on is your game versus USC. How did you play versus the best of the best? And we continue to talk about the resources we need here at Missouri State to be successful, and those games help do that. But the one thing, just more than the bottom line, Scott, that I want to hit on, that I hope this gets to every person that's ever thought they're a Missouri State fan at all, in that 4-hour block, you are going to have more eyes on our Missouri State emblem and our university than you've had in the whole history of the school. Because of the market you're going into in LA and ESPN and all those type things. You will have more Google searches for what is Missouri State, where is Missouri State, how can I get into Missouri State? And I think that is as impactful as any dollar amount, because we are building a brand. We want to be, at the forefront of our college's growth, and I think that's the way you do it.
Going to be a very special day, obviously, on September 13th when Southern Methodist comes in, the most noteworthy opponent ever to visit Plaster. Of course, a big day with Art Haynes, it being his alma mater and his last game he's going to call, and everything about that game. Now that you're going to the FBS level and CUSA, can you start that discussion with maybe some lower tier Power Fours about home and homes like that, or kind of talk about that and getting more of those people coming in to Plaster down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that puts us definitely aligned to do that. I think me and you talked about it a little earlier about our facility upgrades and things of that nature. As we continue to do that, that will make us much more appealing for actual Power Fours to do home and homes. G5s, again, I think that's probably more in our wheelhouse right now with the home and home game. But again, as we continue to build here and we continue to build out the infrastructure of our program, those things will become a reality.
When you look at the league you're leaving, the Valley, and of course, the class of SCS, pretty much a national champion every year, and you look at what you're going into with CUSA, what do you notice about? Is there a difference in the style of play? Level-wise, could a lot of the FCS teams be right there in the mix in CUSA? Your kind of thoughts on that whole transition?
Yeah, I have the utmost respect for the Missouri Valley Conference. There's elite football played in that conference. There's great players. There's really great coaches and administration. If you're looking for a coach, I think the Valley is a great place to look because they play ball the right way. They're great schematically. They get their guys to play hard, and they're a tough brand of football, which is respected across the entire country. Absolutely. You look at South Dakota State, North Dakota State, the perennial powerhouses in the Missouri Valley, and you could plug them and play them in any G5 league, and they'd be highly competitive. Again, we're still working to even get into that conversation, because you need to be able to win consistently and put a good product on the field year in and year out, and then you'll start getting into those conversations of, hey, look out for Missouri State.
Are they taking this jump? Are they a tick faster? Are they a tick bigger? When you see that FCS to FBS, do you notice anything in particular when you look at the CUSA rosters?
Yeah, I think at Conference USA, again, it's hard to get much bigger than North Dakota State and South Dakota State up front. Yeah. There's going to be a first-round draft pick from North Dakota State that was an elite offensive lineman. They're all average. Again, the good Lord doesn't make them much bigger than 6'8". And being able to play football. So I think it'll be pretty relative there. Obviously, you're going to have more Power 4 drop down guys, so your skill players will look faster and they'll be able to do a few different things because, again, most of the guys that drop down from Power 4 kickbacks go to the G5 level. So you'll have some more explosive skill guys, punt returners, kick returners. But again, up front, it would be hard to assume that they will be much better and bigger than the already huge Dakotas.
What can you tell me about revenue sharing, how it would affect your program? It seems to be kind of still an unknown. What do you know about it?
It is. It's sitting in the House or Senate or whatever it is right now, waiting to be basically. I just think they need to drop the gavel and say it's approved. But That's probably more of a conversation right now with my boss, the AD. If you have him on, he can probably give you a little more detail there. Again, we're just trying to position ourselves as well as possible for this next portal window through our FPA, and then let the revenue sharing kind of fall where it may once we get clarity on that.
Have you educated your players yet that Jacksonville State is not in Florida, so there's no swimsuit trip for this one, or not?
I'll need to get to that for sure. Not on the schedule this year, so I think I'll be able to hold that piece for another year. But I'll definitely need to address that because we'll have some guys. We have Florida guys, and we're probably like, oh, another home game. Nope,
We're
sorry.
coming home. Yeah, and no, you're really not there. So
that's right.
Yeah. Do you get any kind of off season anymore? I mean, with the new nature with the portal and everything else with it.
Yeah, a little bit. We try to. The one thing about coaching is you've got to make the most of your time off. I was talking to a young man this morning who's a new father, and you just got to make your time count. There's not really a true off season because you're recruiting constantly. But one thing we do and will always do at Missouri State, no matter what anyone else does, our coaches need to be good fathers and husbands and mentors, and they need to have some time to themselves. So in the summer, we'll give them a decent block of time off to where they can go do what they need to do. And again, be those things that's most important for your life, whether you win or lose.
Well, you got a beautiful family. What's a good getaway for the Beards when you get some time away?
Well, I mean, again, talking about just making the most of your time, go into the backyard, man, jump on the trampoline, go fish a little bit, just get out in the outdoors. Again, we're in the Ozarks. What more could you ask for? You're a drive away from the most beautiful lakes in the country. There's a bunch of great ponds around to go hit. And, Bo and Laney and Jacob and Kaylee, all they want to do is be outside riding bikes, riding scooters and all that stuff. So, the family walks are crucial for the Beard family.
How excited are you about what's coming up this fall with kind of the new frontier, so to speak, for Bears football?
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever been a more exciting year at Missouri State, and even for myself included. Being able to go into the FBS and feel like you can put a competitive product on the field is very important. We need to make sure that we understand, again, trusting our processes. Don't just look at the schedule and, let's take it day by day. You don't have to beat USC today. You have to prepare to beat them today. What does that mean? How do you win the day? How do you, get the nutrients you need into your body? How do you prep? How do you train? We're a major detail-oriented group, and we'll continue to be that. And it's an exciting time. And, I've been like this since I got here, but Missouri State can be a special place. It's a great town. It's got great people, great businesses here, great place to raise a family. And I think we'll help that along as a football program.
Just tell your father-in-law to quit letting guys go east to Ole Miss and stuff in the portal and start building that pipeline north. I mean, help a guy out, right?
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, I know Patrick Ransdell's looking for marketing ideas, get more people in. I think a perfect one that'll cost nothing is you change your name to Bears for the 2025 season. It's one letter. I mean, instead of Beard, Bears. Have you ever thought of that? I mean, look at your name on the screen there. I mean, we're
see
one
it.
letter away.
I see it. I do a lot for this program, but the one thing I won't touch is my last name. Your family and your heritage means everything to you. That's a non-negotiable for Coach Beard.
Very good. Well, Ryan, I appreciate your time as always. Best of luck to you this off season. It's shopping season now. Go find your needs and good luck to you in the fall.
Thanks a lot for having me on, Scott. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Ryan Beard, the head coach of the Missouri State Football Bears. Again, love his enthusiasm and ability to just basically say, we're going to step in and compete from day one. And he believes it. And I think he's making Bears fans believe it too, after the 8-4 season last year and the 8-game winning streak in there. And the guy's doing a great job of building this program to where it needs to be. So our thanks to Ryan for his time. Special thanks as well, as always, to our two sponsors, Fast Break Sports and the Pitch Pizza and Pub. Fast Break Sports, located 309 South Campbell. If you've got baseball cards, football cards, collectibles that you want to protect, no better place to go find those supplies than Fast Break Sports. And then you're looking for a meal after you bought those supplies, head over to the Pitch Pizza and Pub in the Southern Hills Shopping Center. Great pizzas, calzones. As a matter of fact, I'm headed over there for a lunch meeting today. One of my favorite stops, cold beverages, get the guys together and the family and go watch sports on their TVs. They've got great meeting rooms too at the Pitch. So if you've got a lunch group that needs a place to meet weekly, give Brian a call over at the Pitch and he'll take care of you. So again, thanks for tuning in. That's going to do it for this week's edition. We'll see you next week on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene.